Welcome to today's special webinar, Q Systems Introduction and Q&A. I'm Sagar Nandi, Chief Analyst and Trader at Superior Profit based in Singapore. The company is registered in Singapore. However, I live in Thailand nowadays. Before we begin, we go through the standard disclaimer. This demonstration is for educational purposes only. It is designed to share information on Superior Profit's trading system. The information presented here should only be used by people who are aware of the risk inherent in trading. Past performance is no guarantee of future return. Superior Profit is not an investment advisor. This session is not for any recommendation of buying or selling stock or any other instrument. Superior Profit will have no liability for any investment decision made by its audience. This session is meant as a demonstration of Q systems using live market. Earlier, I had another session that is our regular weekly morning market meeting session where I analyze global markets and also the USA market. And during every weekend, I try to submit a weekly market roundup. All of these webinars are open to the public, and if they are videos, they are also available in our YouTube channel. That is my last slide of the presentation. Let's move to the live system. This session is primarily focused on Q Elite, the Q trading system, technical trading system on TradeStation. I may use some of the other systems, but primarily I will be using Q Elite, that is the TradeStation technical trading system add-on. You may ask questions anytime through the Q&A panel or the chat panel. I will keep an eye on that. When you install Q Elite, you have one desktop, Q Elite desktop. Its name is Q Elite. May I ask how many of you are regular users of TradeStation, and if any of you are new to TradeStation? If you are new to TradeStation, I may explain about TradeStation a little bit more. If you know already about TradeStation, I will not spend time on that. New to TradeStation, some of you? Okay. TradeStation is a very robust platform, very powerful platform. When you run TradeStation, it allows to open multiple desktops. It is called desktop. So currently I have two desktops open. One is the desktop I use for webinars, usual webinars, which has limited number of workspaces. Every tab is called a workspace. So for webinar, I usually open a lightweight desktop. Because this session is for demonstrating Q Elite, I open the Q Elite desktop, which has all the workspaces that comes by default. There are other features in TradeStation, like for placing orders, you have a ladder. It's called matrix, but I am not showing that. It is not part of Q systems. It is inbuilt in TradeStation. That is called matrix. Other than the charting workspaces like this, TradeStation has another very powerful feature which is not there in most, if not all, other well-known platforms, is this radar. This is called radar, which allows you to insert one symbol or add symbol lists. Usually traders tend to create their own custom symbol lists. Q Elite comes with some ready-made symbol lists. You can add or create new. You can drop the symbols in radar, and what it will do, it will calculate all the columns automatically. in fact every tick by tick. And therefore in real time you are able to see what is going on. And if you have a powerful system, informative system, let me be careful with the wordings. If you have an informative system like Q systems, I don't want to say this system is powerful or this is the unique or this is the best or this is the secret. It's an informative system. Rest is in your hand. If you have an informative radar, you can look at a number of stocks of your interest. So some of you said you are interested in trading stocks that are between $20 and $50. You might create a custom list for that. I don't have such a list, but let's choose this list. Liquid option. It could be any list. And all the information will be calculated in real time. It will take a while to load. I'm also running the webinar in parallel. That is taking bandwidth. You can put hundreds of stocks in this list and you can sort them. In fact, if you go to data and sort, go to customize, you can choose up to 4 sorting orders. So if you are looking for trade setups like trend following trade setup by this column, you could sort first by that. Then if you are looking for stocks which pressure U-turn, you could sort by that next. Then if you are looking for breakouts, you could sort by breakout third, so on and so forth. Or the way Q Elite is designed, you could double click on any column header. It will sort by the important values. No, the ones where it is black color, there is no important value, significant value in those columns. It will ignore those and sort by the rest of the column. This radar is very powerful. I will come back to this. In Q Elite, we call it Sonar dashboard. Sonar is a generic name that we use for search programs. We also have an add-on for Metastock because they use different names. Instead of changing names from system to system, we just use the generic term Sonar. Why we call this Sonar dashboard is because TradeStation also has a scanning facility where we have all these inbuilt scans. We could run it or any symbol list of our choice. So if I double click, I can choose the symbol universe. By default, in Q Elite, the symbol universe is Q scan symbol list. This is a symbol list that we have created, a generic name we have given. And all the scans run on Q scan symbol list. There is some advantage. If I want to work with a different symbol list, instead of going to all these scans one by one and changing the symbol list there, all I do is I go to the symbol list itself. Where is the symbol list? It is in Documents, TradeStation 10, Custom Symbol List. We have this Q scan symbol list. By default, I think it has the S&P 500 stocks. Suppose I create another list, like say this liquid option, and I want to run the scan on all these liquid options. So what I will do, I will delete the old symbol list, create a copy of liquid option and just rename it. Therefore now QScan symbol list has my symbols that have liquid option. That is an easy way to change the symbol list for all the scans instead of going to them one by one. That is why instead of adding S&P 500 or Dow 30 here in symbol universe, intentionally we put a generic symbol list, and you just change that symbol list content once. That will change the universe for all the scans. We tried to make everything efficient because I have to use it myself. there is a difference between the scan program and the sonar or the radar in trade station. The scan does not recognize intraday, or you may say intra-bar moves. So if it is a daily scan like these long trade setups, or weekly scans like this weekly activity increasing, they don't recognize the current day or the current week if the market is not closed yet or the week is not closed yet. So if I am looking for trade setups that are coming today, I want to identify them before the market close using one of these long bounce, box, breakout, go with flow, headwind, these setups or the short setups. I cannot use scan before market close. After market close, I can use them. That is when the radar comes handy, because radar is calculating everything tick by tick. I can identify the same trade setups through these columns, or the other information is also calculated tick by tick. If we are busy in office during market hours, then scans are fine. If we are looking for information that can help us make decisions during market hours, then we use radar. I tend to favor placing orders just before the market close, not waiting for next day. And that is why I tend to use radar more, or I use Q Global on Metastock. In Metastock, they have Explorer, we call Sonar, the same name. We have 50 scans in Metastock. They recognize the intraday price also. So I can use the scans in Metastock, Explorer in Metastock, or radar in TradeStation. That is about the TradeStation platform. You can place orders if you are using it as a order placing platform. You can open view trade bar. You can place the order from here, whether it is equities, option, futures, forex. But that is not my favorite way to place orders in TradeStation. I use the metrics. Okay, give me 1 minute. I am opening the way I have set up TradeStation for placing orders. This window on the right hand side is called metrics, M-A-T-R-I-X, metrics. I have by default locked the order placing, so by mistake I don't click anything. If I unlock all, you can see the buy buttons, short buttons are active. It is on a simulation account now. It is showing CVS option. I had a position in CVS option. I posted in Twitter just now a while ago. That position had more than 100% profit. That's a different thing. Now here you can choose the price you want for placing the order, and you can also see under the bid size and the ask size where the orders are, like in other powerful platforms. So I tend to use this for placing orders, not the trade bar, I can also come to the trade bar, but I choose from here. If you go to the trade bar, you will see advanced option. Here you can give conditional orders. If you want to enter an option position based on stock price, you can mention those kinds of things here. It also allows, like other platforms, one starts another or one cancels other orders. OCO orders, one cancels other. It's very useful when we want to place the trade for both the profit taking side as well as the stop loss side. We can place one cancel other order, or we could place a conditional order. If price is hitting target or price is hitting stop, all are possible. TradeStation's YouTube platform has a lot of videos, useful videos on the platform. You may watch them for more information. Yes, some of you couldn't install QLite. May I know? I think somebody have already installed QLite. Somebody might not have. So I will show the installation steps at the end of the session so that those who have already installed, we don't take up their time. I will close this order placing window also. By the way, in the next tab, I have all the other options, existing orders, balances, and positions. These are the three important tabs. Orders, which can be open orders or field orders, the existing positions, and account balance, etc. This is a simulation account. These are default features of TradeStation. Let me close this. Now we come back to QLite. And I want to not see that. How do I remove that? Okay. Now how the QLite system and QGlobal or Metastock also, they are designed is that there are number of indicators. And the indicators are grouped into templates or sonars or scans. The indicators don't have any parameters to be set. They don't have any threshold also, like RSI going above 70, 80, going below 30, 20. There is no such threshold to be looked at. There is no parameter to be set. They are all calculated automatically. And they are consistently color coded. How? There are some indicators which are line indicators, like this yellow line or the white line, or the cyan line, magenta line, or these boundary pairs of lines at the bottom and top. These line indicators don't have different colors. They have the same color. Yellow line is always yellow. For the line indicators, if it is going up, it is bullish. If it is going down, it is bearish. So any indicator that doesn't change color, the line indicators that are drawn as a line, they are going up, then bullish, going down is bearish. Then there are other indicators or candle colors that change color. And if an indicator or candle color is changing color, then we have a color scheme. Some of the indicators or candles, let me include the candle color as indicator also, though they are called paint bar in TradeStation. That's fine, we can call them indicator. Some of them have three color scheme, like the activity bar or volume bar at the bottom. They have three possible colors for the histogram, that is red, green, and sometimes there will be yellow. If it is a three color scheme, then green is bullish, red is bearish, yellow is neutral. Sometimes they have five color scheme, like for example this daily chart. On the right hand side I am showing daily chart, on the left hand side I am showing weekly chart. If there is a five color scheme, then yellow is neutral, after that red is more bearish, green is bullish. And then we have sometimes cyan color candles, like here, 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 here. Sometimes magenta color candles. The green, red, yellow colors are called traffic light colors. They indicate bullish or bearish, not for that specific bar, but across a number of bars. Then what are the magenta and cyan colors? If a stock is in uptrend, then cyan color candles, we call flow color, presents the possible optimal long entry position. And if the instrument is in a downtrend, then the magenta color presents possible optimal short entry position. After cyan, it will be too late to enter the swing long trade in the trend following trade setup we have. And after magenta, it will be too late. What I mean by too late is after the optimal signal day, every day that passes by, if the stock is moving in our intended direction, then our profit potential reduces and risk goes up. That's why those are not optimal days if it is moving in our intended direction. So cyan color represents optimal swing long entry trade for trend following trade. Magenta for optimal short entry bar for trend following trade. They are called flow colors because the setup is called go with the flow or go with flow or GWF. So we have some 3 color coded indicators: red bullish, green bearish, yellow neutral, and 5 color coded indicators where also it is same. Yellow is neutral, green bullish, red bearish, and cyan is also bullish, magenta is also bearish. They represent optimal entry point. That is for the candle color. There are other indicators, many other indicators, but they follow the same coloring. Green, cyan tend to be bullish or on the higher side. Magenta, red, bearish or on the lower side. Yellow is neutral. That makes life simpler. You will notice also we don't have any indicator that requires to see if there is convergence, divergence. The absence of parameters, absence of thresholds to be compared with, and absence of convergence, divergence to be checked, they were designed intentionally into the system so that we avoid confusion. My experience is when there are parameters, people tend to fiddle with them, and I met many fund managers, many HNI fund managers, and one of their goal is if the HNI is saying, how is Tesla looking, should I buy? Sometimes what they do, they try to play with the parameters, thresholds, etc. to make a report that shows Tesla is good. And they may also put in some comments. They are saying it's a risky trade at the same time or investment at the same time. But I didn't want that. So no parameter to be fiddled with. We cannot adjust the parameters to suit what we want to look at. Every indicator can be read unambiguously. The U in Q, that stands for unambiguous. C is complete, E is easy to use. You will see easy to use or not after a few months probably. Why it is unambiguous is every indicator, whether any of you sitting in America or Europe or I'm sitting in Asia, we are looking at it, we read it in the same way. Either it is bullish or bearish or neutral. There cannot be another way of interpreting the indicators. That's why it is unambiguous. Now the indicators are combined into templates. Each template has a specific purpose. The template we are looking at now has one weekly chart and one daily chart. We need both of these time frames to decide swing trade entry spanning, let's say, 5 to 10 days holding period. We need both weekly and daily. So we put both of them in this workspace and we call this at a glance because, as I tend to say, it helps me decide if there is a low risk entry opportunity at the right age only in few seconds. And you will see that yourself after a few days. If it takes more than few seconds, something may be wrong. I tend to avoid trading that stock. Now this is the default workspace. This has many indicators. Individually, let us look at them. One is the weekly. We call it backdrop because the swing trades tend to be in the daily time frame. We call how the weekly is backdrop. So we have given it's a backdrop template. Then we have the daily entry chart template. Earlier we used to call hop on template. So the documentation may sometimes say hop on template, hop on or entry template. It also has many indicators. We created two simpler daily templates by removing some of the indicators. One we call entry trending market. This is having all the indicators we need for entering trend following or trend reversing trades. That's why we call it entry trending. The next workspace, we only left the indicators that are required for non-trending trades like box trade or bounce trade. That way, if I am running a scan to find go with flow trade, I have a number of stocks. This is not the result of today, but if I have a number of stocks, I don't need to look at them through the more complex single entry template where I have all the indicators. I can look at them only through the for go with flow trend following. I can look at it only through the entry trending template. That makes life simpler. I don't need to be bogged down with the indicators that are not required. That makes decision making simpler because we are not distracted by indicators that are not required. And if I am running the scan for example, bounce trade, which is an exhaustion based trade, or a sideways market box trade, we have these pairs for short trades and then long bounce and long box. Any of these four, if I am running, and if it has a result, again, this is not today's result, but if we have a result, we can look at it only through the entry non-trending. Then the chart is less cluttered. So we have these workspaces. For entry, which has all the indicators that are required to enter any of the default Q trade setups. We have 4 default Q trade setups. 4. However, you may take many other trades of different types using the Q systems. We didn't codify them. What we mean by codify? If you go to our home page, under education, you have the books that will explain many things, including the 4 standard trade setups. The standard trade setups are also explained in the entry checklist. The 4 trade setups are trending market, go with flow trade setup, reversing market, headwind trade setup, sideways market, box trade setup, and exhausting market, bounce trade setup. If you click in any of them, click on any of them, why the hyperlink is not showing? Here hyperlink is not showing. I have to ask the website developer. But if we go to any of them, it will open a description of the trade setup. This is a reversal trades type trade setup, swing trade setup, and it has a checklist. The checklist is based on either some information on the daily chart or some information on the weekly chart. As I mentioned a while ago, all the individual indicators are unambiguous. Therefore, the checklist as a whole is also unambiguous. We have 2 columns, one for long trade. This is a bull, not a deer, and then one column for the bearish trade. That is the short direction. So we have the indicators that are unambiguous. Then they are grouped into templates. And then the templates have specific task. Entry is for deciding trade entry. Backdrop is for also deciding the trade entry. And simplified for trending trade setups or trend reversing trade setups, and simplified for bounce or box, that is bounce for exhausting market and box for sideways market trade setups. The templates are unambiguous and the trade setups are also unambiguous. That's why once you start using the system, if you are applying the default trade setups, I tend to say if it is taking more than 10 seconds, something is wrong. We may move on to the next step. There are many other chart templates. One is a long-term pivot template. This shows the quarterly and yearly pivot levels. The hypothesis is that if price is piercing above one pivot, it will hit the other pivot. That's a hypothesis, we have no trade setup based on that. This is for information. If you are looking for quarterly, yearly pivots, you may use them. And they are sometimes useful. You may find that sometimes a stock is coming to a long-term pivot level and reversing from there because it is a long-term pivot level, and if price comes and reverses from there and some other checklist conditions are met that are mentioned in the checklist for the trade setups, then you may take a very low risk long position at the very bottom. It's a reversal kind of trade. Another way you may use the long-term pivots is if you are holding E-mini futures, one of the best traders to enter it at this point, which would be the first trend following go with flow long trade setup after the downtrend. When we have the stock going up, creating a higher low and going up again, the first cyan candle is the first trend following long trade setup. If you entered it at that time and if you are still holding it, then one way of using the pivots is when it went up about this pivot, decide to exit the trade if it comes back to the same pivot. That is another way sometimes people look at the long-term pivots. Because they are long-term pivots, they will be useful if you are holding the position for a longer period, except the case where you can use it for a reversal trade at the very bottom. Then you can use it for swing trade entry. For position management, these long-term pivots are useful if you are holding a position for longer period. Then we have another chart template. We used to call it pendulum. Nowadays we call it price extreme. It shows the extremes of the price move. I explained the color scheme. By the way, all the chart templates are designed to be unique intentionally. So if you look at the backdrop chart template, it looks different from the entry template. That looks different from the long-term pivot. That looks different from the price extremes template. Not only the templates are different, each indicator looks different by design. That's why we didn't need to put any label on the indicators. Once you get used to them, you just look at the template or even at an indicator and you know what you are looking at. They're all documented in the books. If you want, you can also right click and find out what the indicator is or the candle coloring paint bar is. You can right click and find out. But after some time, you will not do that because by design, every indicator looks different and therefore every chart template looks different. So by looking at it, you know this is a price extreme chart template and this is a long-term pivot template and this is an entry template. How the price extreme template can be used? If I am looking to enter a strong stock, strong in my view, you may use different criteria, a strong stock, but you want to wait for it to drop. So this is futures, E-mini futures. Let me check. Let's say Apple. Apple is a strong stock. And you see the sizes changed. Okay. Nowadays, people have many different resolutions. It is back. While on the topic of resolution, you can see when I open the charts, the size of the dot here or the bubble here, they are looking nice. On some resolution, when you open the default Q Elite charts, they may not look so nice because the resolutions are different. Instead of you having to go to every chart template and change it, what we did, for the backdrop template and for the entry template. If you right click and go to studies, go to edit studies, then we have this study group. For every chart template, there is an underlying study group. Study group has a group of indicators. So we created this global setting study group, and you can see I have two different monitors with two different resolution. One I use for laptop, one for this desktop. You can edit the setting. You see the second one or the first one, any of them you can customize. Go to input and you can change the size of the different indicators and save it. That is looking good on your resolution. That is for ease of viewing. Otherwise, some resolutions may show the dots or the crosses as too big or too small. So we simplified that task. Just go to global setting, customize, input, change. Here you will see all the indicators that have size requirement. You can change the size for that 0 to 6. That is the range. That is the TradeStation default range. And then remember to save the study group. This is available only for backdrop. So you change it and save it once. Overwrite the current default queue backdrop. And please do that one more time for queue entry. Edit studies. Go to global setting. Customize. Input. Again, put the same values that you put in the backdrop. And once you do that, save the study group. Override the default queue entry. Now what will happen when you refresh the chart? It will send messaging from one chart template to another. So you don't have to worry about what is going to come. So if I change it to IBM, it will change all the chart templates at the same time. What happened last time is I changed the symbol from the price extreme template, but the internal messaging is not saved there. If I show you the study group, maybe it's becoming a little bit more technical than trading oriented. If I edit the study group, you will see global setting is not there. But if you wanted, you could put it, no problem. What we thought that usually we'll open the stock from this at a glance template. So long as you do that, you needed to put the global setting only in these two study groups. That's what I have done in the default setting. Back to the price extreme. So now we are looking at IBM. Okay, let's go back to Apple. IBM is not such a strong stock nowadays. Now this is at a glance of Apple. It is a strong stock, considered to be a strong stock, but the weekly clearly shows that strong stocks also drop a lot sometimes. So if I have identified a strong stock and I know in the long term, okay, I never know, probably you also never know, but you think, or I think that it will go up. Then instead of buying immediately, if I am buying it for a longer term, I may wait for it to drop. How much I will need to wait? One technique is to wait till the color in the price extreme changes to red, dark, red or bright red or magenta. Again, the color scheme is magenta is the more extreme. And then I wait for the extremeness to reduce. I don't have to wait for the color to change to yellow, certainly not to green. I'm trying to catch a strong stock, let's say fundamentally strong stock according to my calculation. Then I wait for the stock to drop to, we call price extreme low, and this finer movements from magenta to dark red, or magenta to bright red, or bright red to dark red, or dark red to yellow. These finer changes in price extremities can be used to enter long position in a stock that is strong. That's why in scan, there are some scans like at price extreme high and reversing if I am want to short the top, or at price extreme low and reversing. If I am running the scan for price extreme low and reversing, I would prefer to run it on a list of stocks that are undervalued. And people may have different ways of estimating undervalued stocks. For me, I have a way to decide the stocks that are undervalued, where the valuation color, maybe even the secondary valuation, will be in cyan color in this tool. And we have a smart filter. So these are the stocks that are undervalued. If I want both valuation and secondary valuation to be undervalued, I can choose both of them to be cyan. Let's see where is CSV in this list. Why not CVS in this list? CVS is a stock that gapped up today and it is undervalued. It was undervalued some time ago also. I have this list ready. You may have a list ready for undervalued stocks and you want to buy it for holding for longer term. Hopefully it will go up. Then I ran the scans or the radar sonar on that. I may run for this scan price extreme low and reversing. That will give me a list of stocks. Then I look at them, I apply the unambiguous trade setups. And if I find a trade setup, I may enter a long position. A few days ago, I discussed CVS in one of the webinars. All the webinars are recorded there in the YouTube channel. And CVS, as I showed, is an undervalued stock. Even now, after this gap up, this is today's gap up. But when it was making this very long base, it had several automatically drawn smart trend lines. We call memory lines. The support ones are green and the resistance ones are reds. There was one resistance memory line here that was broken on this day. Fundamentals are good, were good also. And I saw the earnings was in August. So at that time when it was, I don't remember exactly which day I entered the long position, I bought a simple call. Now simple calls are not the best instruments many times. In this case, I took a chance, but I didn't know that it will jump up today. So I wanted to hold the call option until the next earnings. That's why you see here in the call option structure 190816 August expiry, not July expiry. I didn't look for 30 days to expiry or 45. I wanted a monthly option that is expiring after earnings. I was thinking that it is undervalued as per my system and it is creating a nice base. It has support. The support is holding. So I wanted to take a chance with simple call option and hold it through the earnings. Through the earnings, I would not like to hold stocks because it may suddenly go down. But options, simple call options are one way to trade them if you are bullish. Again, simple call options is not the best strategy because they lose time value. In this case, you can say I got lucky. Today it gapped up well before earnings. I had more than 100% profit. I mentioned earlier in TradeStation, in all modern platforms, we can give GTC order. So I tend to give a GTC order on all simple call or put options, exit at least half position at 100% profit. So I exited my partial position with profit. My money is back. I was not looking at the chart also at that time. And CVS now might have come down, but that is fine. My money is back. Why I explained CVS is that is a technique you can apply to fundamentally strong stocks as per your calculation, and look for the stock to come to a price extreme low, one of these colors. And you don't have to look at the charts one by one. We have a scan for that. That is the use of the price extremes. Many times I actually don't need to look at the price extreme chart. I run the scan and just look at them through the at a glance template. But the basis of the calculation is coming from this chart, price extreme chart. Then we have another chart template, that is volatility chart template. This is more useful for options trading. And another thing is that different templates have candle colors using different calculations. So the backdrop candle color for the weekly chart is using different calculation. For the traffic light candle color, it is different. Flow candle color are some of the points in the traffic light candle color which are optimal short or long entry points. Candle coloring for long-term pivot, it is the same as flow and traffic light. Price extreme has a different candle coloring that shows the extremities of price, cyan at the highest extreme, magenta at the lowest extreme. And now volatility chart, here the candle coloring is based on the instruments options volatility or implied volatility. Again, cyan is extreme high, relatively speaking, magenta is extreme low, and then in between the red and yellow and green. How to use it? If it is extreme high volatility like in this area, then we would not like to buy simple call or simple put because they are very expensive. Rather, we would like to sell options. Selling naked options is very risky unless we are going to buy a stock outright and then sell the put option on that. That I would not like to do in a stock like Apple at this kind of position. I would prefer to do that when the stock is at a lower price and it is showing extreme option volatility. If I wanted to hold the stock longer term, I could sell put option at this point. When I see high volatility at a higher price, then the strategy could be using shorting verticals. And if the volatility is low, then it is probably okay to take simple call or simple put, though as I mentioned, they are not the efficient instruments even for option trading. Though many people tend to trade, sometimes I also trade simple call, simple put. The advantage is that if the stock moves in the intended direction, they make very large profit, like the CVS trade I showed recently. But that is not the usual case. Simple call, simple puts are not what I call efficient instruments. Verticals tend to be more efficient than that. In any case, if you are buying options, even long verticals, then it makes sense to buy them when the volatility is low, certainly for simple calls and simple puts. The boundary lines here are based on price volatility, whereas the boundary lines in backdrop, no boundary line backdrop, the boundary lines in entry chart is based on stock's price range. I'll come back to the indicators individually later. In volatility is based on the volatility. That is also reflected in the options pricing. That is the candle color, which is also reflected on this line. That is the same as option volatility or implied volatility. These dots on the volatility bands, they are showing whether there is a squeeze or not. And this is not the default squeeze calculation where people tend to look at stocks where the Bollinger Band is going inside Keltner channel. We have our own calculation. When it is coming into a squeeze, you can see it is red color. When it is yellow, it is neither squeeze, not squeeze release, and green is squeeze release. The hypothesis is that if a stock is moving inside a narrow range, like in this case, if it is moving in a narrow range, and then we have a squeeze release, it may result in a significant move. It may. So we use that in a scan probably. We have scans for squeeze and squeeze release. Just like we had scans for stocks at price extreme high, stocks at price extreme low, but instead of just running at price extreme low, you can run price extreme low and reversing if you are looking for long positions. Similarly, you could look for stocks inside a squeeze or stocks that are coming out of a squeeze now. Those are the scans. Why do we still have stocks inside a squeeze? To be prepared in advance. Same for stocks at extreme high and extreme low. We are becoming ready with the list of stocks that we may short for extreme high unless we are a breakout trader at the top, or buy at the extreme low. We are getting ready, but we are not going to buy unless it is reversing. Similarly, if it is a stock inside a squeeze, we are not going to buy it. Usually, it not a good idea to buy when it is still inside a squeeze. But if we create a list of stocks, we can look at them, or we can run the scan for squeeze release and then see if we have a low risk entry opportunity. Therefore, we have the volatility chart. Again, many of the times you may not look at it actually. It is used in the scan, but you can see the exact way how the squeezes are forming and then they are released. And the candle color, the volatility candle color will help you decide if it is efficient to buy options or efficient to short options. Then we have the stop level, which is telling us the long stop levels, long position stop levels, the lower dots, or the short position stop levels, the upper dots. If we took a long position in Apple on this day for whatever reason, we wouldn't actually do that in Q's technique, not on this day. This was a gap up day, so we could wait for price to go above the gap up day and take a long position and put stop just below this gap up candle. If we did that, we would trail the stop along those lines, these dots, and we'll get stopped out on this day if we put a GTC order that was triggered, that will be triggered during the day. If we are careful to check the stop at market close, then the stop will not be triggered and we'll continue to hold it and it will be triggered somewhere here. Both are possible techniques. Depends on one's own personality, how wants to trade, whether to check the stop at the end of the day or during the day. In trade station, you can place an order that checks the stop just before market close. 4 p.m. Eastern time, Eastern Standard Time is market close. You could tell trade station that at 3:45 check if my price is at below the stop level. If so, exit. But at 3:45, 3:50, if it is already reversing and going up above the stop level, don't exit. It's possible to set up such orders. Depends on your strategy. So this is the deciding the stop level. If we are taking a trade at the swing low, let's say, I'm not saying this is the most ideal case. Let's say we took a trend following, go with flow setup, long trade here where the stock was already moving up in an uptrend, tilted down a little bit and went up. This is the optimal long entry point. Then initially we like to place the maximum stop loss just below the recent low. And as price goes up, we can trail the stop. If we did that, we are still in the Apple trade. If we did that, that's how to use it for entry stop and trailing stop, and there is also a way to use the same for break-even stop. There is a tutorial video. There are many videos in the YouTube channel, and there are some tutorial videos. They were created long time ago, not so sophisticated. I make all the videos. I'm not a professional video maker, but they are informative enough. You can see how to use the different templates, etc. Though the charts used may be metastock charts, it doesn't matter. The systems are implemented in almost identical way in both TradeStation and Metastock. That's how to use the stop level template. All these were for either weekly interval or daily interval. There is a comment, can we run the scan? We'll run the scan. Remember, in TradeStation, the scans don't run on intraday bars. So even if we run the scans, they will not show us today's information. We would rather check the stocks on radar or Sonar dashboard. It is only 1 p.m. The signals may change. For our swing trade setups that are mentioned here, or in general for any swing trading, the signal has to be checked at or just before market close. Even if we check for trade setups today, now the signals may change. So I am not going to run it now, but I will demonstrate use of the radar later. Scans will not run it on today's data, but radar will. I will show radar after some time. So far I was showing the weekly template, that is the backdrop template, and a number of daily chart templates. Then we have intraday chart templates, and our intraday chart templates are not just changing the interval from daily or weekly to 5 minute or 10 minute. They are different in the sense they are using primarily support and resistance lines, which are by definition zero lag. For intraday templates, we have no lagging indicator, though you can see the traffic light candle color is there, but they are not used to enter trades using the 5 minute or 10 minute chart interval. The books explain how to use the intraday chart templates either for day trade entry or for fine tuning. That's why we tend to call it fine tune chart template, fine tuning swing trade entry. We use the support resistance like intraday pivot lines. Again, each intraday pivot is also designed with different color intentionally. You just look at them, you know which one is what. In the beginning, you may write it down in a sticky note. I think you all have these stickies. You can put it on a stickies, but after some time, you will not need it. This is the primary template for day trading entry or precision entry of swing trading. If I am using it in the morning session, the default time frame is 5 minutes. If I am taking the trade in the afternoon session, I suggest changing the time frame to 10 minutes in the afternoon session. We have another intraday chart template. Here also we have the pivots, but using a different calculation. The intraday pivots are similar in concept to the long-term pivots. The long-term pivots are, some people may call it traders pivots, doesn't matter. The long-term pivots are quarterly and yearly pivots, and the intraday pivots are intraday pivots over a much shorter time frame. Sometimes you may use them to look at the support resistance. The upper lines, the green lines, they are called R1, R2, R3, resistance 1, 2, 3, and the lower three lines will be here S1, S2, S3. That's the name people tend to use, S1, S2, S3, support 1, 2, 3, and resistance 1, 2, 3. They also show over a number of days how price is moving. Are the ranges expanding or contracting? to have a visualization. The actual entry is made using the intraday pivots that are in this chart template, fine tune or precision entry chart template. So we looked at the charts and we looked at the scans and sonars. What Sonar dashboard did, what it did is all the chart templates that we have, and here you can see interval is one of the columns. So on a daily interval, what we did, we looked at all the chart templates, daily interval primarily, picked up the essential information, important information, and put them in the Sonar dashboard. Therefore, just by looking at the Sonar dashboard, even before looking at the chart, we have a lot of insight. Some of them are related to the actual trade setups. I showed we have 4 default trade setups. You may take many other trades using Q systems. The default trade setups for which we have defined unambiguous checklists are go with flow for trend following, headwind for trend reversal at the top of a trend or bottom of a trend, box for sideways market, and bounce for exhausting stock drop suddenly and find support. You can find those trade setups and the other information that are collected from the individual charts. And yesterday I posted in the Twitter. By the way, in the Twitter page, I tend to follow intraday information. Sometimes it's not trade tips, but I think it is quite informative. If you haven't followed, you may follow the Twitter page, which is different from the forum. In the forum, I tend to post trades, I shouldn't say trades, I should say analysis under this category, live 360-degree stock analysis. They are never looking back at the chart. They are looking at the stock on a particular day. And why I call it 360 degrees, because I tend to share information on the industry, pharmaceuticals in this case, and the fundamentals using my scorecard, and then the technicals, which is quite detailed and informative, analyzing the stock across all the 3 dimensions. And Twitter has more snippets of information useful. So let's see this tweet, not this one, this one. DNR. I looked at this chart yesterday, but before I looked at the chart, I looked at the Sonar, and I first posted the Sonar dashboard snapshot asking what can you infer from this. And let me read out. This was on stock DNR. I inserted the symbol, in this case only one symbol. Radar also allows dropping hundreds of symbols together. It's running on daily interval. Closing price is fine. It had a gap open at 1.7% from previous day's close. Since open, it went up another 5.8% as of the time of this posting. And together, it had a 7.4% price change from previous day. So this is gap open, change from open, plus O plus minus, C, change from previous close, previous, in this case, daily close, plus minus. Then we have other columns. False move is lit up. By the way, the cells will lit up only if there is significant information that may be used in making trading decisions. Otherwise, it will be black color. Again, cyan, green tend to be bullish on the higher side. Magenta, red, bearish or on the lower side. Yellow, if there is yellow, is neutral. Black is no significant information. False move will lit up if it tried to go in a direction first, say down, and then went up. That will lit up the false move. In this case, there was no false move. Breakout will lit up when it is breaking out of automatically drawn smart trend lines we call memory trend line. So this is yesterday's information. It had a gap up open. From there, it moved up further. There was a significant close to close move and it was breaking out I could read all that before opening the chart. Then the GWF, the go with flow column, was showing that now the price has moved enough in the daily chart for me to consider buying, especially if it is in a trend following, I should say, if it is already in an uptrend, then only I should look at that. Otherwise, it is saying that it is now bullish on the daily interval, but the trade setup is different from just the candle being bullish. Then I don't have any information on U-turn. Before U-turn, this touch column, it will light up if it is hitting a memory support or resistance, touching. That is different from bounce. Bounce is a trade setup, and touch is just touching a memory support, a trend line support or resistance. Sometimes we get ready for a trade, and sometimes we want to take a trade intraday. Then I may look at the touching indicator and see, can I take a reversal trade? Is it reversing from the touch? Will it result in a bounce? When the bounce is happening, then the bounce column will lit up. Go with flow will lit up if there is a possible trend following trade setup. Not an indicator anymore. It is trying to apply all the checklist conditions, as many as it can. Headwind will lit up if there is a possible reversal setup. We have to apply the checklist on the chart, but I can shortlist, narrow down my shortlist by looking at this. Headwind, reversal trades, a box for sideways market trade setup, and bounce. So these 1, 2, 3, 4 trade setups. I can also look for breakout candidates. In this case, it had a breakout candidate. The pressure column will lit up if it has extreme bullish or bearish pressure, which is mixture of volume and price move. Just looking at activity extreme is good, volume extreme. It will lit up this column if there is activity extreme, low or high. Usually high is useful, but that is not always enough for deciding on trades. Pressure is more effective where we have combination of activity and displacement. Now sometimes we have bullish pressure immediately followed by bearish pressure. That will be shown as U-turn. Or the reverse can happen, bearish pressure followed by bullish pressure. Those tend to give very lucrative buy setups. Again, these are not trade setups. The trade setups that we have defined using checklists are 4: bounce, headwind, box, and go with flow. But you can use the other signals to decide your own trades. I'll try to find some demonstration for that. So we have U-turn of pressure and pressure. How to use it? Suppose we are finding a list of stocks that are at price extreme low and reversing. I showed we have a scan for that. And then we see out of those reversing stocks at the price extreme low, some are going up with high pressure. Then I'm more interested in them. And then not only high bullish pressure, they are also showing how pressure U-turn. Then I'm even more interested in them. That's how I can narrow down my list further and further. Activity extreme is showing whether activity is very high or volume is very high. All these are captured from the individual chart templates. Reversal is showing whether the price started to go up but then reversed beyond previous day's extremes. So this is an extreme version of false move. False move is price started to go down then reversed. And reversal is it reversed so much that it went above previous day's high. So reversal, that is a bullish reversal, and then we can have a bearish reversal like that. Pendulum is the price extreme color I explained. And here I see again the cell is lit up, so I know DNR is at price extreme and the most extreme possible, magenta color. Direction column is showing it is in downtrend or not. If it is bright red, then both the slow and very slow direction lines are down, so it is very much in downtrend. Traffic light just turned green, and flow color is this traffic light green plus some more conditions, which may give me a more optimal entry position. What it means is that after the flow color turns cyan, the traffic light may continue to be green, but as price is going up more and more, my risk is increasing and my profit target is reducing. So the cyan flow color candle is the optimal long entry position for trend following long trade. But traffic light is just saying that the candle is now bullish or not. And if it is in a squeeze, then it will show up in the squeeze column. If it is coming out of squeeze, that will show in the release column, and relative performance will show whether relative to the market, in this case S&P 500, it is going up or not. And I can see that it is inside a squeeze as of yesterday. This is yesterday's snapshot, and relative performance strong. Option volatility is showing that it's neither extreme low nor extreme high, so it may be okay to buy call options also, not extreme high at this point, though the stock was at a very low price. So I inferred all that from the Sonar. That's how the Sonar is to be used. It's extremely useful when you drop hundreds of symbols here. Just looking at the column, you have an idea what is going on, and then you can narrow down your focus. And now if we look at the chart, DNR chart, I will try to show the information that we collected in Sonar from different parts. It was breaking out from this memory resistance that showed up in the breakout column. It had a gap out move, gap up move. From a gap up, it further went up. Together, it went up by 7.44% relative to previous day's close. All those information showed up. Gap percentage, change from open, and total change from close. All those percentages. The candle flow color that showed up, and the traffic light is nothing. Rather, the flow is traffic light bullish plus more information. So those came as traffic light and go with flow column. It is at price extreme low. We could see that from the price extreme chart, but the band indicators also provide a lot of information. This is showing that it is at price extreme low, and it is showing it is inside a squeeze. We could see those columns also in the Sonar. And when I looked at the chart, it looked interesting. Does it look interesting to any of you? As of yesterday, what happened today we would not know, but when I looked at the chart yesterday, first I looked at the Sonar, then I looked at the chart. Does it look like a possible buying opportunity at the bottom, if one is assuming one is comfortable buying stocks that are at the very bottom? I was thinking if it goes above this weekly watermark support level, these are high watermarks and low watermarks. Low watermarks tend to be support, high watermarks tend to be resistance. If it reverses and can go above the watermark support. What is watermark support? As the price goes up, down, it leaves watermarks. That's how we came up with the name watermark. If it can go above the watermark support, it will create what we say a false downside breakout, probably stopping out the weak hands who bought the stock around this time, then going up. Then it may give a low risk long entry. And now I see in the daily chart, it broke out with high activity. Not very high has this green dot. Extreme high will have cyan dot. And the thick line shows that it is high. Thin line shows it is low. Just by looking at the shape, I know it is still heavy activity and it is breaking out. If the fundamentals are good, it is not a bad idea, it's very low price stock, to buy the stock, or because the price is very low, one may also just sell the put option if one had conviction about the stock. Though this session is on Q Elite, what I did then, I wanted to check the fundamentals of this stock. DNR, if I enter the root stock here, it is now retrieving the root stock status, and then it will try to find industry peers. I could find industry peers, similar industry sector, all those things. And I have no data stored on my computer. It is trying to connect with Thomson Reuters. If it gives server error, that error is coming from Thomson Reuters, now called Refinitiv Zenith. I just pause and play again. It has retrieved information about the stock, some basic information, retrieved a large number of peer stocks based on this industry peer relationship. And I can see it has a beta of 2 alpha negative. It makes money, no dividend. Next earnings, 5th August. That is about 1 month away. And then I can see one day, today it is down 1.5%, but yesterday when I looked at it, it was up. It ended, this is 2 days percentage trend, not yesterday's percent, today, but it went up by 8%, 5 day, it went up by 6%. It is very close to 52-week low. More important for me was, if I'm buying a stock at a very low price, I want to see if the valuation is good, meaning undervalued. And here both the valuation, secondary valuation are science, so it's undervalued stock. Good earnings quality actually, and it has a short squeeze potential. Over 2 days in this industry, 46 stocks are up, 6 are down. Over 5 days, 43 up, 7 down. Over 10 days, 39 up, 11 down. 1 day movement tend to give rise to noise. It's good to look at them and everything is happening in real time. Then I click the peer analysis and I can see DNR is optimally valued, and if we look at the yearly periods, it has very nice earnings growth. From 3-year earnings growth of 9%, that is compound aggregate earnings growth, to 2-year 246, then 1 year 242. It's improving very nicely. Though the quarterly earnings are negative, revenue growth is also good over 1 year. There are more information available to the right, but I will not go into that. What I did, I looked at the Sonar first. That is also called bottom-up analysis. I looked at the Sonar first, DNR, yesterday. That was how it was posted in Twitter. I looked at the Sonar first, then looked at the chart. Both looked interesting. Then I checked the fundamentals and oil and gas, energy and production. Last step I tend to do is look at the industry, if it is bottom up. So energy was oil and gas exploration and production. So oil and gas exploration and production. Again, in here also the same color scheme, cyan is strong or green is strong, and it is looking strong relative to the other energy sector industries, oil and gas. So I had a stock which is at a very low price level, breaking out from memory resistance with high activity, fundamentally strong, short squeeze potential, industry strong. I thought it could be a good buy candidate. If we are comfortable buying stocks that are in a downtrend, this is a breakout candidate at the bottom. There are many traders who are comfortable taking breakouts either in the middle of the range when price has already moved up, or at the highest range. You could identify those trades also. How? In the Sonar, we have these columns, pendulum. So let me now drop a list of stocks. Let me drop that list. I like liquid options, so they may be traded with stocks or options. It has 276 stocks. They tend to change, and you may add, delete stocks to it. It will take a while to calculate everything because I'm also running the webinar. And then I will use the pendulum column to see which ones are at price extreme low. Then I will combine with that the breakout column to see if they are breaking out from pendulum low. That's how you could find DNR yesterday. That is the bottom-up analysis. While it is loading in top-down analysis, I will start with sector is too broad. See, this is real-time data. So as of 1:20 now, 1:20 p.m. Today, financials looking strong, communication services looking strong. I could drill down, but sector level is too broad. We tend to miss industries. If we start with sector level, instead I could start with the industry level and look for industries that are already strong, like these two. Again, cyan is strong. Or another favorite way of some people is ones which were weak earlier, like department stores turning strong now, and then drill down. That will be the top-down approach. Finally, in my way, I'm always going to look at fundamental. Okay, always is a very strong word. Often, most of the time, I'm going to look at all the three dimensions. Not always. That will be too disciplined. Okay, I hope it has loaded. So it has loaded pendulum. Now see, I can emit, I just double click, and if I double click again, it's reverse the sort order by design. And then I could either delete the other rows or click the insert button. So now I have the top rows which are at price extreme low of different degrees. Most extreme magenta, then bright red, then dark red. And then let me look for breakouts. And I'm going to look for long breakouts. So Fitbit, FIT, is a breakout on the bullish side, and I see it is similar to somewhat TNR because it also has GWF go with flow column turned on. Relative performance is strong. It is also in a squeeze, not very different from DNR, but DNR was much better. Why? Because DNR had a gap up open, it moved further from the open, and it has a very large move close to close basis. Fitbit is not so good. And we can see that right from Sonar, even before opening the chart. It is also direction is showing red, similar to DNR, not so strong. But never mind, we can look at the stock, and usually I just look at a glance. After some time, you will not look at the individual charts. And this one is looking interesting also. I don't know, many of you may not be comfortable buying at the bottom. This is having a deep watermark in the weekly chart. It has a huge drop. The backdrop candle color was bearish, created a long base. Backdrop turned neutral. Several times it tried to hit the watermark or even went below the watermark but found support. And now this is the first week after this long period of decline that the weekly backdrop candle color is turning cyan. That is bullish, and the shape is also bullish. We know hollow candles are bullish, lower tails are bullish. So weekly is starting to look bullish at the rock bottom price. Daily is creating the base, but we see there are memory resistance lines. So I would rather wait for price to break out of this memory resistance. Then there is no memory resistance nearby. These resistances, memory lines, they are significant, and if they are broken, that is also significant. Another thing I can see that in the recent period there were the high activity bars. Both were bullish. This is also high thick line, but the dots are showing very high activity bars bullish. Yesterday also bullish. Today's bar is not complete yet. So I can put it in a watch list and see if it is able to break out above this memory resistance. That's how I can use Sonar not only to find the default trade setups, but combine different scenarios that I have in mind and search for them. Another way maybe to look for stocks, and why I didn't delete the other rows. See, now if I delete the blank line, now I can have the full list back and I can sort them in another way. Let me try to find stocks that are moving out of squeeze with heavy pressure. So I double click. Okay, let's find squeeze release. We have 3 stocks, but none of them have high pressure. We have 3 squeeze release, so they may not be so interesting. I can see out of these 3 stocks, this one is squeeze release at pendulum low, price extreme low. So that is XUS still. Price move is interesting. It is 2.1% up from open on a closing basis, 2% up, and false move. Now we have a false move case where on intraday charts, it first started to go down, then moved up. I would be happier if it had bullish pressure or at least activity extreme, this column, activity column, but none of them are there. The day is not over yet. That's what I mentioned. We need to check it before market close. Usually this analysis will take 10-15 minutes only, the entire analysis covering industry fundamental and technical. If you have large number of stocks or many strategies in mind, you may take 30 minutes. In my experience, whether you have 10 strategies in mind or 4, you will have enough number of trades. You don't need to spend so much time. No harm looking at ex-US steel. Who knows if the wall gets built with steel, that will need a lot of steel, and the president has said it will use American steel. Now it is not looking so interesting, isn't it? DNR or FIT looked much more interesting, and instantly we can see that. That's why I said more than 10 seconds is too much. Here instantly I see the weekly color is bearish. It has memory resistance. Daily color is also bearish. So I don't need to read everything. The moment I see some negative criteria for a bullish trade, I pass. And if I again go back to Fitbit, Fitbit looked much more interesting. Weekly is bullish, has support. Daily is also looking good, but there is a resistance, so I wouldn't buy it now. But you may see by the end of the day how it goes, and check the fundamental also. That is how you can run Sonar dashboard, the radar. I'm not okay. Let's look at some of the, again, the usefulness of this entering a blank line is I don't lose the entire list of stocks. I'm back with the stock. Let's see if market is at the very top, and those may give very lucrative shorting opportunities. They may not work, but if I'm looking for trend reversal shorting opportunities, we have a trade setup called headwind that uses a very unique symbol. Okay, I tend to call probably all the signals are unique, not so really, but some are unique more, some are unique less, like all your children. But anyway, this is a signal that tries to tell if at the very top or at the very bottom, relatively speaking, there is a possible reversal. I see AEY, a gold miner. So when I see that, I may like to sort it by industry. The last column, that's why we put the industry there, and look for gold miners. Go down, go down. Let's see how the gold miners are doing. Again, insert a row here, insert a row here. These are the gold miners. And now I can sort. And I can see out of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gold and silver industry stocks, FCX is also there. 3 of them are showing possible reversal signal. When we see reversal signal in a stock, we are always careful about an existing position in the prevailing trend. When we see possible reversal signals in multiple stocks in the same industry, we are careful. Or if we are seeing the reversal signal in daily and weekly at the same time, or around the same time, weekly might have given reversal signal previous week, now daily is showing, or vice versa, then also we are extra careful. So reversal signal on an individual chart, weekly, daily, we are careful. If it is in multiple stocks in same industry, multiple market futures also possible, or multiple ETFs in same industry, or across weekly day, then we are careful. Here we have a case, and using live data, I'm seeing this, that 3 of the stocks has possible reversal signal, so we may be cautious about holding in gold miners. Doesn't mean we have a short position. But if I look at the row now, you can gather some information from here itself. What can we gather? That this part, out of this gold stock, this is downmost. By the way, the ones that are downmost, they will have significant color in the percentage changes. This is downmost 3%. It has a headwind signal. The others are also headwind signal is there. And it is showing that the direction is up. So it is in a confirmed uptrend. Both the slow and very slow direction lines are up. Boundary line is showing that it was above upper boundary line. If you watched my today's morning video or the previous webinars recording, you would know that gold was also above upper boundary lines. Those are lucrative places to short if we have a trade setup. And swing is another indicator showing that it is in an uptrend. It is no squeeze release, and relative performance, meaning relative to the market, it is down. Option volatility is very low. That is expected if the stock is very high in the price level. So it is okay to take a short using stock or using put, provided we have a trade setup. But we can gather a lot of information from here itself. Now let's look at the chart. If you have a glance at the stocks in the same industry, you tend to have an idea which one you would like to go long or which one you would like to prefer to short. But the actual confirmation may be done based on the chart and applying the trade setup, the default trade setups or other trade setups that you have created. And this one is looking very interesting instantly, because in the weekly it has a long-term memory resistance. It came there. It has an upper tail that is bearish, ending lower. In daily, it came to a resistance that is coming from far away, like the Shrek movie. It is giving a very nice bearish reversal signal, one of the unique babies we have, and it has a bearish shape candle. In today's session, in the morning session, I mentioned also that if it is in a triangle pattern, one of the lucrative trading techniques is to take the short at the upper end or take the long at the lower end. And if you used Sonar in the morning session, when this was happening, you could probably use the intraday chart to take a short trade on a 5-minute time frame. And if we are talking about morning session, I will change the interval to 5 minutes, and all these pivot lines are created automatically. One fine tune entry technique is once the early range high and low formed, and if we had other reasons to short based on daily weekly interval, we are not deciding the entry of the short based on intraday chart, but the decision is based on the daily weekly where we had bearish headwind and we had trend line resistance. Then we will short just as price is going below early range low, put the stop above early range high. Once it covers the risk distance, because we are taking an intraday day, we might book partial profit, leave the stop at the original position. That would be a day trade. And we may continue to hold partial position, make it a swing trade. Or we may hold the full position as a swing trade if we have time to track how it is doing. What will not be standard Q practice is to make a profit in a trade which is precisely entered using these pivot lines and then let it go into a loss if the stock moves up. That will not be our standard practice. But this is how I demonstrated we could use the precision entry technique to enter a trade that we have decided based on our standard trade setup. And all the standard trade setups can be applied, can be decided from this single at a glance template. That is some way you can decide on trade, and I demonstrate, there are many ways, but all of them will be very straightforward after a while. It's just clicking, looking at the color and applying the trade setups. It's already 1.5 hours, so I will stop here. I didn't run scan because scan will run it on yesterday's data. I ran it on radar. At the end of the market, you could run the scans. Would you like me to look at any stock? By the way, 1 minute. Yeah, give me 1 minute. Meanwhile, you can think of some stock that you are going to look at. What I wanted to share is I looked at some of the emails from Ajit Bhai's brother in India, Bhai's brother. Thanks to Ajit for sharing those. Thanks to Kim also, my dear friend, for helping to create the group, and some of you may be from Dr. Jeffrey's group. Thanks to Dr. Jeffrey also to creating these groups. I intend to create a forum if you are interested to share your Q analysis with each other. Currently, as I showed, I share the analysis in a forum. It is not open to the public. People cannot share ideas. But if you are interested to share, it's always a good idea to share. Then I will create a separate forum for all of you to share ideas. If you're interested, let me know. Only those who write to me will have write permission. Others may be having read permission. Okay. I looked at the communications I received from Ajit, and I looked at some stocks and JetBlue. I don't know where I got this stock from. Let's look at JetBlue. Maybe from Ajit's list. And you will see, usually this is not my preferred way. I don't prefer to look back. In the forum also, all the setups, ideas I share, they are never looking back. But sometimes for learning purpose, it is good idea to look back. And I also suggest when you're using the queue systems, you look back from the right side to the left side, apply the checklists that we have for standard trade setups or something that you have in mind, and see if you had a trade setup on a particular day and how many of them worked, how many didn't work. When I looked at JetBlue, I noticed if I look back, it is going in a trending way, uptrend from this point onwards, right? Before that, we are not sure, maybe downtrend. But from here, it is starting to go in an uptrend. And in an uptrend, our trade setup is trend following. We call go with flow, GWF, go with flow. And that relies on the flow candle color, cyan. So this would be the long entry day for JetBlue. Our stop will be just below recent low. But exactly where, that we can decide if we go to the stop level. On this day, our maximum stop will be here, and that is a distance away. So some people may put the stop here, like I do, that is the physical stop, but then watch the stock. Is it going below? Is it going below the entry day's stop level? Then decide, make a decision to exit or not. But initially I tend to follow this. When you do the walkthrough, the way I mentioned, looking to the chart and entry days, looking from the right to the left, you will see that if you put your initial stop loss following this rule, then you are stopped out less often, but you don't have to take loss also. The number of times you will be stopped out is much less. Anyway, coming back to the entry trending template, this was the last long entry position. Now, if I look at the next cyan candle, this will not meet the checklist requirements if you apply the unambiguous checklist, because the checklist says if it has both upper and lower tail candles, lower and upper tails, then it is indecisive shape, and then we cannot take a trend following long trade like we could do in this day. What about this day? That also doesn't qualify because it is already hitting the upper boundary. This day would qualify. So if you apply the checklist in this manner, looking from right to left, in a well-behaved stock, liquid stock, you will find that the trade setups work quite well. How well, you will find out yourself. If you look at the forum posts over any period of time, significant, maybe 3 months, 6 months, I think 60, 70, 80% trades are profitable, but those are my posts. How you do is based on your walkthrough and actual trading. So that was a good example of where we could apply the trend following long trade setup. And you see here the reversal signal, multiple reversal signals came one after another. That is also important. Individually they are important. If many of them come together, important. This one had a possible reversal signal. However, the candle shape was not bullish. So we are not going to put so much importance to that. And this is a case that happened in the market futures. Again, if you looked at my recent webinars or the recordings, E-mini, S&P 500, Nasdaq, Dow, all of them showed a bearish headwind recently. Some dot like this red dot at the top, but the candles had long lower tail. So I didn't put as much importance to them, like in this case. This one had a bullish headwind, and from there it went up significantly. if we didn't take the bullish headwind, fine, the next trading opportunity was here as a trend following trade. That's why the headwind trade is a reversal trade where we are trying to catch the bottom or the top, then comes the trend following. The bounce trade will happen when it has a long-term support like here, and tomorrow for some bad news, if JetBlue hits this price level and goes up, that will give a bounce trade setup. And you will see whatever be the trade setup, the four standard ones that we have, all have one thing in common. They are always low risk entry. They are trying to catch an exhaustion low or a swing low or an extreme reversal low. And the sideways market will try to catch a low also. Always. They are not breakouts. Then we have the breakout signal in the Sonar. You could use that for breakout also. So JetBlue was one chart you could do walkthrough on other charts. I saw many people, I think many people in the report looked at AIR. Very strong stock, isn't it? Let's look at it from the at a glance view. This is our go-to template. It has some more indicators than you need for a particular trade setup, but you will get used to it. Here I saw that it displayed a possible reversal signal in the weekly chart, this dot. And that time it also created a false downside breakout. So we could start to look for buying opportunities from this week itself if we had conviction on the stock. I may not need to have conviction in the stock today. It is already up 7.6% today also, but the way I explain, in any strong stock, even Apple, those also drop when it is reversing, and in this case a reversal signal came, you could start to look for buy setup. We wouldn't buy. Okay, let me go to a longer period daily entry chart template. I could double click on the header here, or I could go to, because in the default Q desktop I have all the templates. I could see here we had a watermark support level that was broken, and then price recovered above that. But there the trend was still not up. Then it moved in a narrow range and then moved out of the narrow range. Some people might consider buying the stock around this time because it gained this yellow direction line similar to 50-day moving average, something like that, and went up, but the white line is still away. So there are different techniques other than the standard trade setups that one could use if you already had conviction in a stock, different ways to enter trade in that stock. Another stock that one gentleman was looking at was AAOI. AAOI at a very low price, similar to Fitbit, very low price. And I think I saw the chart through him on this day or this day, and immediately I noticed it had memory resistance lines. In the weekly, the backdrop candle color has turned cyan. Current week's shape is bearish. Activity is high. The recent high activity weekly bars are actually bullish, not bearish like here and here. In the daily also, recent high activity bars are more bullish, though there are some bearish. And it is moving in a sideways range. When it moves in a sideways range and there are heavy activities, the price is at extreme low, it may be more accumulation than distribution. Otherwise, if it is distribution, price is likely to drop. Not certain, but possible that it will drop if it was more distribution. Now, if I am going to buy it, one way will be to look for a breakout of this. I am not fond of breakouts except when they give low risk entry points, and this may be giving low risk entry points. So when I saw that AAOI, I it is at a very low price level, I would like to buy only if it is optimally valued or undervalued. Low price doesn't mean it is undervalued. So I check on the stock and I think I found it to be, let's see the valuation, I don't remember, in communications equipment industry, and I could go to sector, communications equipment industry and infotech sector. So I could start with infotech, go to communications equipment. The 1 day tends to be noisy. So if we look at 5 days, communications equipment looks quite strong, one of the strongest in the infotech sector. So industry wise, it's good. If I look at the stock has valuation that is in the middle, not undervalued. It has a short squeeze potential, that is good. Earnings growth is not good. That is expected because it is at a very low price. Now, what I did then, I always look at an alternative stock in the peer group, and I saw there are several which are undervalued instead of AOI. So I applied the smart filter. Out of the undervalued stocks, I wanted to see if anybody has earnings growth. And this is the only stock in this industry group that is undervalued as well as having significant earnings growth in the recent quarter. So I wanted to look at this stock. The industry is strong now. This stock has great valuation. Earnings is picking up. That is the kind of stock I like to buy. So I looked at NTCT. NTCT in same industry like AAOI. And here it is at a better price level. Better in the sense it is not at the very bottom, but it also has a memory resistance in the daily chart. So I will wait for it to break above that, and if it breaks above this, it may not give me a low risk entry. Interestingly, it did display a bullish headwind at the very bottom. So I could start to look for a buying opportunity from that time. Did it give a headwind reversal long trade setup? That I don't know. I have to apply the checklist as of that date, combining weekly, daily. The weekly has changed by now. I don't know, but at least I will start to get ready if I already was bullish on this stock, and I might be already bullish in the stock because the valuation was good and the industry was strong. That is again a 360 degrees analysis. I could look from Sonar first, then look at the chart, then fundamental industry, or I could start from sector, industry, fundamental, then chart. Those are few stocks I wanted to discuss. If you have any stock, I will look at that. Otherwise, what we can do, I can stop the recording. It's a long recording. I don't know how many you will fall asleep while watching the recording. I may stop the recording if you don't have any stock, and then show how the installation steps are to be carried out. There is no more question, so let me stop the recording. Before I stop the recording, I like to show one more slide. Always I like to show that. Thank you for attending, and I look forward to seeing you in my next session. Have a great week and trade profitably.